Hello there. Back on air, it's Jacqueline with red hair. I almost rhymed all of that. It's getting frightening, isn't it? Oh, well. And I'm just, look at me. I'm going on the live thing. I've got a phone out. We have Linda. Could I have one? I probably need to read the glasses. Anyway, we got lots of really good psychics tonight. You've got a whole lineup. For Thursday, if you're in America. It's Friday in Australia, and it's not really any of those if you're out in space, because you might not count that by 7 days or something. Anyway, Linda, yes, thank you so much. Yes, thank you too. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see what we can do. We'll see where we go. And what sort of happens and all those sorts of fun things. You're welcome to ring in, write in, and just stay classy, because that's always a good thing to do. And so this last week we went off to Mildura in Victoria. That was kind of exciting. I met lots of really interesting people, some really fantastic, nice, lovely, wonderful souls, particularly some of the psychics we met up there, some natural healers, and some townsfolk from good old Mildura town. Saw a lot of painted silos. So there's been some artists up there in the Wimmera of Victoria painting silos with lots of beautiful pictures. I've got them on the Facebook page for Soulstar Radio if you're looking for that. They've actually got some beautiful pictures of either townspeople or stories to do with their town, and it was really quite lovely to see and connect with people up there. This week on Sunday we're heading up to Bendigo. It's like, where's home? I don't know, somewhere. We just drove past it. It took 6 hours, but this week we're at Bendigo. I'm going to be doing some live demonstrations on the stage there. For the audience, and also one-to-one readings at Bendigo at the Holistic Body and Soul Expos, runs by the wonderful Peter Burns, who's just come back from America himself. He's actually at an astrological convention in Chicago. So I should really convince that man to come on and do some actual interviews and talk about his wonderful work. He's been working with horoscopes as well, and a whole range of other things, particularly around tennis champions. It's amazing what you can do with astrology. Particularly, I know a lot of my clients that are astrologers who will work on the stock exchange and things like that, and they'll actually be doing astrological consults for, different sellers and buyers and traders as well as training their own things. I'm not really into share trading, but that's me. Call me old-fashioned, just call me old if you like. It's either way is fine. I really don't mind. And also next week I'll actually be having the wonderful, talented and very beautiful Shirley Nichols back on the air, sharing the airways with me, and that couch behind us. She'll be sitting there. We'll have a giggle and hopefully speaking in English, because my German, frankly, is awful. So that's going to be fun as well. So if you're looking for a reading tonight, you can post a message on the live feed, which some people have done, and there are also ways to get in touch with A1R Psychic Radio as well, whether you're using the phone number or writing in. So do feel free to do that. So I'm looking forward to speaking with people tonight. Also, I've had people contacting me during the week, and some people have sort of said, how do I deal with, if there's a curse and all that sort of thing. And the reason I put it in inverted commas is it's such a rare thing that there's actually that kind of energy going on to that degree that I would call it something like that. The first thing I'd probably start with when you're looking with those kind of energies is to say, okay, is there something I did to annoy that person? Do I need to take ownership of that behaviour? Do I need to sort of say, all right, well, that's probably quite enough there. I probably could learn something from that. So first look at self, know thyself first, and look at it from the other person's perspective as well, and say, all right, well, is it that they feel insecure? Is it that I've somehow raised their shackles somehow or upset them? Was there a way not to do that? Were they going to get upset anyway? Is this mine to own, or is it actually more of a them thing? Because sometimes people can get jealous of you as well, and it can be for reasons you're not quite thinking. When that sort of thing's going on, try not to feed into it. Another great one to use is to say, I was going to say ascendere and use some Latin, but let's not go there. You can send it back to the source with love. Now, I'm not saying that you're judging what that source is, and it's not tomato sauce either for those comedians amongst the audience, but it can be that you can send it back to the source with love. So you just say, all right, I'm going to let this go. I'm sending it back to the source with love. I'm letting go of the attachment of that. I'm sorry if I've done something to cause that person upset, or, and then just let that go, because if you hold on to that, or you try and judge them or that sort of thing, it just feeds into it more. If you get fearful of the other person, once again, feeds into it more. It's about not fueling fire with fire, not playing into this, and also not fueling it with your fear. So if you're sending it to the source with your love, you're not judging who or what the source is of where that came from. You're just going, I'm sending that back to the source with love. You're letting it go. You're releasing it. Bum, boom, energy stops. So the pendulum stops from your side, or rather the throwing of the pendulum, because no doubt they've sent it to you. So the thing to do is not to pitch it back, because that thing's going to get pretty heavy. Whereas if you're stepping outside of the way of that, well, the pendulum is going to go so far, and it's going to eventually get more and more tiring. If someone's sending that to you, it just gets more tiring for them, and it ends up they can't really keep pushing it. Oh, and then the pendulum stops. So that can take a little while, but it's worth the perseverance of that, because if you think of it as two sort of martial arts warriors, and you've got two Jenga puzzles, I will attack you with this Jenga piece, I will attack you with that Jenga piece, and next thing you're attacking with more and more Jenga pieces, the whole thing's falling down, right? Kind of a waste of energy, kind of not productive, kind of not helpful to you or to them. So it's better to disengage. So I send it back to the source with love. Not going to judge who or what that source is, letting it go, and then it will actually let go of you. It's a lot easier than you think it is, and it can sound like a lot of new age blah, but it actually does work, because the more you focus on something, guess what? The more it focuses on you. So if you think yourself, really, really like that person, I hope they turn up today. Oh, there they are. Or you think, gosh, I hate that person. And you're like, well, guess what? They're probably going to be on your doorstep as well. So try not to feed into that stuff. Hey, it's better to kind of just go, all right, well, this is how it is. I'm going to focus my energy where I want it to be. I'm going to want that to be positive, and to put yourself there. And by doing that, it's going to free you up from a whole heap of hassle a whole lot quicker. So just a thought today on how to deal with, if you've got someone coming after you, because I actually had a message from someone, and he was saying, could I do a revenge spell? Well, no, I'm not going to do that for you. First of all, if you're going to go in revenge, just dig 2 graves, not one. One for yourself. So don't go there. And I sort of said, well, hang on a minute. This is how you could do this instead. You could, clear the energy and put yourself back in a loving space and all these sorts of things. And, the message came back, but can you do that for me? And it was all me and I, and not, what can I learn from this? And so first of all, when you sort of get into that kind of energy, your vibration's lowered. You might not be thinking as clearly. And the thing to do is stop, take a step back and go, what's this really about? And how much am I buying into it? So don't buy into it. Focus where you want to be. You'll get more of what you want as a result. And you're not going to stay stuck down in that dense, heavy energy, because hell and heaven really are a state of mind. So make your mind nice and clear. And that's what I would have to say on that one. So I'm just going to get on to our first caller. We have Melissa in Derby, Vermont, USA. Are you there, Melissa?
Yes, I am.
Hello and welcome to the show. Really getting a lot of positive energy off you, and certainly you're having to be very positive at the moment. And I'm not just talking about being positive as in happy. I'm talking about having to be positive as in decisive. So you may find yourself having to be kind of really making yourself clear at the moment, asserting things, and having to be, deciding quite clearly, is this what I want or is it not, and having to sort of stick with that. But if I could have your date of birth, I could start getting into more of a reading for you if you'd like.
April 25th of 88.
Oh, yes, indeed. So with you, when you get down to things, you can get very, very focused. And there can be sometimes a bit of trouble with detachment there. And I do feel with you, though, the decisiveness that I'm picking up at the moment is actually an important thing, and will actually help you with things. You can feel a bit unsettled this year, a bit like things are upside down, and having to kind of reorient yourself to see the view. Sometimes when the world seems to be turning upside down, we might need to turn in a different direction to see the full picture, if that makes sense. So it is about having to, reorient, look at this in a different way. And, this year may have starts and stops and obstacles at times, but you will get through them and you will come out a whole lot stronger, I feel, if we just take our time. And it's about not jumping to conclusions at the moment as well. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would really say that the more you can sort of just check and say, all right, well, is my heart in this? Do I feel that this is the right thing for me? Do I feel that I can sit comfortably with this choice or with what this person's saying? Does what they're saying actually sit comfortably with me as well? And do I want to stick with that, or do I sort of need to go my own direction? Because you may have to filter a few things that other people are bringing into the equation to get back to the clarity, because with that sense of what's going on at the moment, you can, and that's why I was saying about having to be decisive, having to be assertive at the moment, you may have to kind of say, well, thanks for that, but I have to do it this way instead. But I've really appreciated what you've got, but I've got to do it this way. That's how I would sort of look at that. Was there a question you wanted me to look at for you today as well?
Yeah, it's regarding a twin flame and clarity on what our status is, because I'm looking at purchasing a house, and I don't know if that's along with him or not.
Yeah, a lot of emotion there, really feeling that one. And there's also a lot of having to ride waves here. That's where I think I'm getting this whole discussion of, we got to be clear, we got to be assertive. You've got to make sure that you're happy with the choices you're making, not just going along with what someone else wants from you. And are they carrying their own weight is the question I would really be asking here, for you to ask yourself to do with them. Because this year, it is a 6 year for you. That's the home, the heart, the family. So we are dealing also with the heart, as in relationships. And so often that can be the case that we're looking at this sort of thing in this year. The next 2 years are really a sorting out time as far as money goes. I would just make sure that the other person is actually putting in equal integrity, finances, and energy to this goal, and that you're not sort of left bankrolling them, because that's going to be a really important thing to think about very clearly. So, if that's not even at the moment, I would make sure that you have your lawyer look at that, or your attorney look at that as to how to draw that up in such a way that your interests are also protected, and that it's not sort of flowing one way or the other too much. There needs to be equality here, because what can really freak you out is if you feel as if you're putting in all the weight financially, and if you feel as if that's uneven, that can actually lead to your insecurities being raised, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense, because the house will be in only my name. And I'm wondering what's blocking me right now, because my heart says to be with him, but I'm blocking myself, and I'm wanting to remove that and be true to myself and what it is.
Yep. So that's where I think the lawyer, attorney, whatever you want to call that in your country, we call them lawyers here, but I really want really solid legal advice there, just to make absolutely certain that you're in the clear, because I don't know the laws in your jurisdiction, and I'm not a lawyer. But I would make sure you're on top of that stuff first, because the heart is the heart, and the brain is the brain, and when we follow our heart, we should take our brain with us, and you definitely have a very good brain, but you need to make sure that you're engaging both, and that you feel really confident that both parts of you are actually singing the same song on this, because if your heart says one thing, your brain says another, and your gut's saying something else altogether, we're really not all that conducive. So that's why I would really make sure that you've secured that part, because for you, this is not a materialistic thing about money. This is a stability, sense of security kind of thing. Some people have different ways in which they feel secure. With you, it's about money. With other people, it might be about their status or their position. With other people, it's going to be about their family. Now, the giver in the family. You're the person who you're the linchpin in the family. You put things together. But when it comes to your finances, that's where you can feel really jittery because I have worked so hard to this and I don't want someone to be able to come in and just strip it on down. So this is why I'm being very, very cautious. It's why you're sort of having the gut churning. Because it's been really nervy and it's like, oh, hang on a minute, how come I can't sleep too well? Well, hello, because, part of you is trying to speak to the other part of you. So if all of you listen to each other within there, it's a bit like, that old 80s TV show, Herman's Head, although you were born in 98, so you might not remember that one, might not do YouTube that one, look it up, but there's a few different sort of parts of you all having quite an interesting discussion up there, and we really need to get them together at a bit more of an AGM, a bit more conducive and, work out some heads of agreement and then bring it on down, and then you're going to be feeling a whole lot better because then that block is out of the way. This is not so much just about trust. It really is about you working within your limits. See, where martial arts students harm themselves physically, where a master, has been doing it like 50 years of martial arts, they don't harm themselves because the martial artist works out what their range of limit of range is, physically. And so they'll work within that range. And so
I practice martial arts.
Hello, that's why I'm going there. I wonder why. And so they will work within that range and they're not going to harm themselves, and you know what I'm talking about. But then the student, they're like, whoop, 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 and next thing they've dislocated their shoulder, right? So let's not go too far out of your range. It's okay to have limits. It's definitely okay to have limits. And people who sort of get really nebulous and it's like, oh, but, in spirituality, what is yours is mine, and what's mine, well, that's mine too. People get lost in that. What you have a problem with me taking everything you've got? I don't think this guy's into doing any of that. I do feel he's actually a really decent person. But for you to feel safe, we need to have both your light and your shadow happy with this, and all the other parts in between. So by doing that, it's going to make you a lot happier, and then you'll be able to just settle down and actually enjoy this relationship. And also, it holds him to account. So that's really important.
Yes.
Because he's really
that
great.
Absolutely makes sense.
He needs limits. If he doesn't have limits, I think he's sort of off with the magic faraway tree a bit here, because he gets a little bit confused sometimes about what we actually agreed on, if that makes sense. It's like you thought you were agreeing on this, and then, oh, but wasn't it that? So this is why I would make sure you've got documentation, black and white, paper. One of my clients, who's actually an attorney over in the US, we actually had to laugh because I said, wow, I said, this guy you split up with, I said, the only thing you didn't take care of in your settlement agreement was the Tupperware, and I bet you he argued over that, and it was worth about $3.5 grand, wasn't it? And I said, isn't that right? And she goes, oh my God, how did you get that? So I think your guy is just as particular. No, I don't think you're breaking up with him. I'm not reasoning out the the settlement agreement for that reason. I just think to avoid a settlement agreement, we might need to have an agreement in the first place, because it makes things far less
confirming everything.
Far more clear and much easier for you to go, no, actually, it's this way. Love ya! And then you can sit and read the paperwork and you can go out and have a coffee.
Right. So really he needs to be okay with it being in my name, and if he's not, then he's not. But it's not changing that.
That's okay, but if we've got some kind of formal agreement that protects you legally, and that's what I want to make sure it does, is protect you legally. That's why you need a lawyer to talk to you. It was great starting with a psychic. We've got to go to the lawyer next. Because that then makes this far more clear and so much easier. So I hope that helps you. Really rocks for you, and I wish you the very best. You can also connect to me if you want to on Facebook via Soulstar Radio. You can find me, just Google. And lovely to speak to you, Melissa. Now, we've also got another caller. We have Tabitha in Bronfalls, Texas. I love Texas. What is it about Texas with me? I don't know. I don't vote that way. I'm not even American, so I can't. But are you there, Tabitha?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Lovely to speak to you today. Yeah, wow, a lot of pink going on with you. Needing to really be making sure that you're looking after self at the moment. You, I feel, are going on a bit of a journey of healing, discovery, more loving of self, caring towards self, and at times there's pockets of vulnerability here. So, you know, you can sort of be doing great one day and it's like, next day, wow. It can be a little bit of an alpaca moment, if that makes sense. Was there a question you wanted me to look at for you today, darling?
I was seeing if you could tell me if Matthew and I would get back together.
I think Matthew has to get back together with Matthew first before he can get together with anyone else. Because I feel as if there's some issues going on where he's having to kind of identify what's really important to him and to be more clear about that rather than to be leaving people hanging midair. There's sort of an indecisiveness in his energy on one level where you're going to get mixed signals here. On another level, and maybe a verbal level, he can be like, I feel as if he's been sort of, no, it's this way. But there are other signals going on there, and there's mixed sort of messages in amongst that. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, actually that does.
Yeah, so what it will be is quite annoying for you because you're being very open-hearted, honest, communicative, hey, let's talk. And I feel as if we're getting, this adult 1 minute, I've got this really kind of boring, I know I call it boring, but it's rebellious teenager the next. And, it's just not the best for you. So I really, that's why I said Matthew needs to get back together with Matthew first before we can hope to get back with Matthew. I wonder if this is some kind of weird, midlife crisis almost, but I just don't think that he's computing how he normally does or, I think that some people like yourself and other people around him who know this side of him will kind of be going, what's going on with him? Whereas other people that he doesn't really let in so much, and they're more what we call acquaintances, like people he knows at work. He sort of lets them into a certain, we might call it the foyer of the house. The rest of you are right on in the back kitchen there. You're out in the sunroom, right on the back deck. But everyone else is foyer. Mr. Matthew will see you now in the parlour. Not that he has a parlour, but you get the message there. The people who think they know him but really only know this sort of superficial level of him, no, he's fine. What are you talking about? It's really nothing here, nothing to see. But the people like yourself who are in the back kitchen and sunroom are going, oh boy, this, what is this? So, I would say that I would hit the pause button on that. Take a few deep breaths, look after you, numero uno. So be that number one towards yourself at the moment to just, reconfigure your own feelings because I do feel that normally you're incredibly a hardy lady, mind you, but at the moment we're not feeling terribly hardy. So you can sort of need to take yourself gently through this and not try to push your buttons. Even though he's pushing your buttons, you need to not let him push your buttons or you push your own buttons. You need to just take this gently, feel the love as in yourself. And, hang out with the girlfriends, go to the gym, watch that raccoon video of the little raccoon going up the building and being released to safety. Just anything that puts your mind somewhere else at the moment actually will help you because it gives you enough space to then, when you do come back to thinking about this, go, hang on a minute. What am I doing? Why? And then you'll be feeling a whole lot better. That or wine, although I probably shouldn't recommend wine on this channel. It's usually G-rated. But, we could have non-alcoholic beverages and just imagine they're alcoholic or otherwise. But I think having some girlfriend time is really important for you right now as well. But, we need a bit of distraction. I would really love it if you could say, what do I really want to do right now for me? So that's why I'm saying numero uno. You really need to be present for you right now.
Okay.
And the thing as well is if he is wanting to be present with you, then if you're being present for yourself, I feel that that's just going to naturally happen. But if this is going to be a really self-absorbed story about, his stuff that he's not really communicating properly about and even open to properly dealing with, then, do you really need to take it on? That's my question for you to ask yourself, and I hope that makes sense and answers that for you. Is there another question at all?
No, that's it.
I think you're a beautiful soul. You deserve so much better than what's happening just at the minute. I do have some empathy for him, and I feel you've got a mountain of empathy and probably a waterfall of empathy for him. But just have that consideration, care for yourself at the moment. That's going to help you so much more over this period. I do think in the next 2 months, 2 weeks, 2 months. Well, there'll be something in 2 weeks. There'll be a whole lot more in 2 months. It's going to be a lot clearer for you about where this all stands, where it's going, what it's doing, and whether you have a deeper connection with this guy or whether it's just a surface layer. So, give yourself time. There's no need to rush. That's what I would say to you. So I hope that helps you.
Oh, yes, it does. Thank you so much.
You're absolutely welcome. Thank you so much, Tabitha, for your call, and I am sending you lots of loves and kisses. And to all of you who I couldn't get onto today and speak to, very sorry. We can only handle so many calls in a show. There's lots of shows tonight, so you're going to be able to connect in with the other lovely hosts through this evening, and you'll find me also on the podcast later. If you're looking for me, just look for Soul Star Radio. You can type that into Google and just put Jacquelene Closemore. You'll find me somewhere out there or in here. In the meantime, it's been lovely sharing the air with you, and thank you everyone who's been writing comments. Not all of them I've seen because I put my phone over there. So I'll hopefully get better at, reading those little messages. In the meantime, lots of love. See you next week. And we'll have Shirley, Psychic Medium, joining me next week on the air. Same bad time, same bad channel. In the meantime, bye. Lots of love.